I have 6:30, Will, but I think we can give it another minute or so, okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, Will, I'm thinking we can start because our representative from DOS is here and he's on a time limit. Hello, Mr. Okatiro. I don't want to abuse his time. So I think we can get started and others can jump on as they will.
Okay, so I'll just give the quick rules of
Sure.
how our CB8 virtual meetings are run. Uh, if this is your first time joining us, or maybe first time in a long time, you'll notice that currently you're muted, and everybody's going to stay muted through the duration of the meeting, except for our co-chairs, Marco and Michelle, and any presenters that they have presenting today. As we move through the agenda, the co-chairs will call on members of the public who wish to speak or ask questions. You can participate by going to the React icon on your device and pressing the raise hand button. It's not the wave or the thumbs up, those will disappear. Only press the raise hand button once. If you press it a second time, your hand will go back down. If you're calling in from the phone, it's star and 9 to raise your hand and star and 6 to unmute. Be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once one of the co-chairs calls on you. If you're having problems with Zoom, the chat is available for technical support only. It is not to ask questions of the presenters or the co-chairs. They will never see those chats. And finally, we encourage you not to raise your actual hand or wave at the screen to get our attention. If you're having problems, just chat me. I'm here for support. Michelle, Margot?
Great. Thank you very much, Will. So welcome everybody to the February 27, 2025 vendor committee meeting. I'm Michelle Birnbaum, co-chair, along with my other co-chair, Marco Tamayo. We welcome you to talk a little bit about street vending, both general merchandise and food. And we also have some speakers here who I am very, very pleased to welcome. First, as I mentioned before, Mr. Okaturo, who is with the Department of Sanitation. That's an agency that has been recently, within a couple of years, handed jurisdiction for enforcement of street vending. We're also very pleased to have Officer Isaac Wise with us. He is a PEP officer, and that is a Parks Enforcement Patrol officer, and he'll jump in on the second item on our agenda, although we'll be pleased to hear from him with any comments that he'd like to make. So welcome. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. Okaturo, thank you for being here. Marco is going to share a very, very quick slide presentation just of some recent infractions that we have seen that perhaps you haven't seen. So Marco, why don't you put that up and we can get going. While Marco's getting that going, I want to ask you a very quick question because I'm not sure what happened here, but jurisdiction for the DOS, you have jurisdiction on the streets. However, wasn't there a ballot initiative that gave you enforcing jurisdiction in the park as well? If so, I'd like you to think about during this presentation whether or not that ballot initiative passed and what your current enforcement parameters are. So Marco's got the slides up, so we'll let him get going so we don't waste any time. Thanks,
Thank you.
Marco. Go ahead.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you everybody for coming for tonight's meeting. We have three items, and we're going to discuss the first item, which is enforcement of the street vending in our streets. The main idea of this presentation is to compare historically for those street vendors that has been violating in our community. To do that, I'm using the Google Maps records and compare with the present conditions. So we can have an idea who are they and where are located. The area that we cover is 86th Street and some other streets too. But the main issue right here is 86th Street. Well, let's go start first describing the street vendors regulations, especially the 2-304 restrictions on vendor vehicle location. What it is they have to obey the rules and regulations of stop, standing, and parking locations. The major point right here that I would like to bring up to all of you is the point number C, which is highlighted in yellow. The street vendor has to be at least 15 feet away from the fire hydrant or fire safety zone. We have this graphic that will illustrate to everybody else how the street vendor complying with the rules and regulations. The width minimum to operate a street vendor is 12 feet. So that means that Lexington Avenue, it has only 10 feet. It shouldn't have a street vendor on Lexington Avenue because it's narrow street, a narrow sidewalk. Then we can see the other regulation is 20 feet apart from the entrance of the building. Clearly shows where to measure to where. And the last part basically is the location of the table with the crossway. I think this graphic helps a lot to everybody to see if the street vendor is in compliance or not. Let's go start with the street vendors. This street vendor is located at 78th Street Northwest at Lexington Avenue. On the top is the picture that obtained from Google Maps, which basically those Google Maps, they retake the picture every 6 or 5 years or more. So in this case, we have in the top one street vendor, and the picture in the bottom is this truck vendor that was taken in 222-25. Clearly, you see they are not in compliance with 10 feet away from the crossway. Right here, we have in the top again, Google Maps. It helped me a lot. This is the truck vendor at Lexington Avenue Northeast. We have this street vendor that he has been relocated on the picture on the bottom because basically they doing some construction on that side, and they do not comply with the first regulation that I show you to all of you, which basically is have to be in compliance with the traffic law. This street vendor right here, we have, it looks exactly the same because this street vendor, I think, never moved the car from that location. It's almost in the same position as it was 5, 6 years ago. If I analyze from the Google Maps photo, and in the bottom, you can see it's exactly the same with the same violations, close to the fire hydrant, close to the crossway. This street vendor, again, has exactly the same situation as before. The only thing is he has to relocate with his old Navy. Right now, we have a construction to the entrance of the subway. This is where we find this truck vendor on in the south part of the Lexington Avenue. This truck, I think everybody knows, is always forever in front of PC Richards, and just as a fruit vendor that is never moved the car. Now, these two trucks, they are together, and they shouldn't be together because one push car, it should be in a commissariat because this is non-storage play and they cannot do business. And still for many years, this street vendor with two cars in the same location. Now, a little bit more about street vendor regulations. The regulations 2-30317, basically what it says, and I highlighted the section D, which is basically said a street vendor cannot sold, lease, or rent, or transfer the license. However, you can see right here, two street vendors at the corner of 2nd Avenue and Northeast at 86th Street. It's still exactly the same. Doesn't move for years, these street vendors. This street vendor is at 2nd Avenue Northwest at 64th Street. These street vendors, one, they found a nice place to sit on the fire hydrant, the street vendors in the corner, and the other one has been moved, but frequently they show up in the same location. Finally, this is a complaint constantly. One of the neighbors that come into our meeting that is located this push car at 69th Street Southwest at 2nd Avenue. And you can see the picture that I took on 129th and 21st, and has the same license, and they never move. This street vendor is at the 86th Street Northwest at Lexington Avenue. Again, this is in front of the entrance of the subway, and is very close to the fire hydrant. These street vendors are located very close to the entrance of the subway at 2nd Avenue Southeast at 70th Street. This street vendor is just in front of the entrance of the Q train at 83rd Street, 2nd Avenue Northeast at 83rd Street. Finally, we find a new type of street vendors with coolers. And these street vendors, usually they show up between 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. The picture on the left is this, located at York Avenue Northeast at 86th Street. Also, apparently is one street vendor that collect all the coolers at 1st Avenue Northwest at 78th Street. As you can see, they have more frequently the street vendors that pop up anywhere. These street vendors are, all of them are on 86th Street. And this picture was provided by Andrew Fine. Well, and that is the presentation of the first part.
For this part
Thank
of
you,
it.
Michelle.
Yeah, thanks very, very much, Marco. So, Mr. Okitaro, let's go to you. I'm thinking, and actually, we're very happy to send you this presentation because it actually gives you some locations. There are many more, and I'm sure people on the call have others, that they want to talk to you about. But I wanted, if you would, is he unmuted? Will, is Mr. Okitaro unmuted? I can't see everybody on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no.
Yes, oh, good. Okay.
Okay.
Michelle,
I
should
can't.
I stop? Should I stop the
Yeah, you
sharing?
can stop sharing.
Okay.
We'll bring it
Okay.
back up in a minute. Yeah, because
Okay.
otherwise I can't see everybody.
Yeah.
There you are, Mr. Okitaro. Okay. So, yeah, so from the department, from the point of view of DOS, number one, we're very happy to send you this presentation. It'll give you these locations. You'll have them.
Very helpful.
So tell me a little bit, we always talk about doing sweeps. When was the last time that you have that taco truck that was pictured is one that is a constant violator? Robin is here. Good. She could talk about that. They're particularly egregious because they don't go to a commissary. And so that's of particular concern. For people who don't know, a food truck vendor like that is supposed to report to a commissary every 24 hours for cleaning, for potable water, for all of the health concerns. They do not. We have somebody on this call, Robin, who can actually see them from her window and can report that they're there pretty much 24 hours. So if you can comment a little bit, Mr. Okitaro, in keeping with your time constraint tonight, giving some people time to ask you questions, and also to let me know a little bit about what the DOS, can they or can they not go into the park? So if you can just give us a little summary, that'd be great.
Thank you very much. And good evening, everybody. I'm so sorry I can't spend as much time as I would have loved today. I have
As
to,
you have in the past, I know, but it's okay. We understand.
I'm so sorry about that. So, so very quickly, first to answer your question about parks, it is true that the initiative did pass, the referendum did pass, and I know we've been talking to parks. There's been a lot of back and forth trying to figure out the modalities and how we're going to operate. Just because, the way in which we do enforcement and the different citations or summonses that is issued.
And Mr. Wise of PEPA officer is on the call. I don't know if you
as well,
realize.
yeah.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So I know there's been maybe 2 meetings so far on this issue, kind of trying to work out how we're going to make this, be smooth, as we move forward. So I want to kind of pause on that and not say too much until I have some really clarity as to how we can actually, start the enforcement. Would it be inside of the park or on the sidewalk of the park or whatever? That is still being worked out. So once we're very clear as to how we're going to make that happen, it will be made public. And our folks will be out there working with parks officers as we are trying to ensure that we can, enforce this new rule.
We have some pictures of the park issue, which we'll put up in a minute, because I would like you to see that before you go. Of particular concern is the preponderance of people having cut fruit on the street. Not only a license does not cover the legality of doing that. You are not allowed to do that. That is all over the street. It's in the parks. We'll show you some pictures. And it's a dangerous situation that has arisen. These are health issues, along with a new phenomenon, not so new, a couple of years, but we're spotting it more frequently now. And that's people selling meals that they have prepared and cooked at home and either bringing it in a cooler or at the back of a station wagon to sell at certain hours, like at construction sites, so they'll bring breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning. They're just making these meals out of their home. That's of big concern to us.
So let me,
I'll go to you in a minute, to the public in a minute, but I just want Mr. Ocatero to tell us, have you seen a big increase in that, and how are you addressing enforcement, specifically that concern?
yes, ma'am. So we are familiar, to be quite honest about it. We've been, and I'll use this term. Last year, for example, we did engage these guys, and we actually have summons and took some of their stuff away from them when we were able to catch them, because as you know, they on the move quite a lot. So unless our team is close by and they observe what is going on, because we do see the cooler, not to use the bad language, but as a term that team kind of use for them, they come in the truck, like you said, and they are dropped at the corner somewhere, and then they have the coolers and they, wheel it out and whatnot. So in the past, we've been lucky enough to have actually taken those coolers away from them, plus the food, have it composted. That we've done in the past. And I know now, from what you are now sharing with me again, they seem to be, no, actually, let me go back. As of last week, the team was briefing me on the fact that they are seeing some of these guys now pop up again, right? So then we now have to ensure that we increase our presence and pay attention to where we think their location, they change where they operate every so often, right? So they know where, they see us when we come, but then we have some undercover guys that we're now using to hopefully track them so that when we see them, because you have to see them in action and
Well,
then engage them and take their stuff away from them.
but are you doing sweeps that are sending you out specifically to look? For example, you've seen them. Where have you seen them? Up here in Community Board 8?
The last one that I know we saw was, I think Community Board 4 was lower, on the
I'm
west side.
sure they're all over the city, but
Yeah, so they're all over the city. But now that I'm aware of what you just shared with me, I will ensure that tomorrow I speak with the team, to say, by the way, hey, they're now all on the Upper East Side as well. Can we please spend some time there with our Manhattan team?
all over, and in the park as well, which we'll get to those slides.
I would wait for the parks for now. I don't want to because I know we are still not 100%.
Well, we're going to share that anyway, because Mr. Wise is going to want to see it.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
so that's of concern. So if you can sort of jot that down, so please look for that up here. And Phyllis, why don't we go to Phyllis? Will you unmute Phyllis, please?
Okay, can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay, I live at 63rd and Lexington, and my question is a bit macro. So you've shared the regulations from a food truck to a front door. These food trucks are higher than the vendors that we used to have using carts.
Yes,
on 63rd and Lexington, as an example only, the vendor has disco type lights on the roof of his truck, which I understand he's allowed to have from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. My suggestion is, and again, it's macro, that these distances also apply to the distance between the roof lights of a truck vendor and a residential window.
Okay.
There is, I don't know who it is, but this lady now has to keep her blinds shut all night.
Can you give Mr. Ocatero the exact location?
Yes, it is. The truck used to be on 63rd and Northwest. Because of the construction, it has moved.
Lexington, you say 63rd and Lex?
And the northwest corner. It has moved to 63rd and the northeast corner because the subway is under construction.
Now, this is a truck, not a cart.
It's a food truck.
So of course he's higher, right?
My comment is, since these are much higher, this truck is probably the size of many of them. Its lights are, I can't measure it, I would say between 8 and 10 feet from a residential window. It seems we need to have a new regulation since the trucks are so much higher.
I think that's a good point. Let me ask Mr. Ocatero something. It's very difficult to pass laws, but within every agency, there's the ability to make rules. And Mr. Ocatero, is that a rule that you could bring back to suggest to the Department of Sanitation that while we don't have a regulation that forbids decorative lighting or advertising lighting, maybe we can have a rule, because I don't think it would require a law of the number of feet from the window, as Philip Ms. Stoller suggests. Can you make a note is that a possibility?
At the agency level, at DSM, just for quick background, like you said earlier, ma'am, our responsibility really here is purely just enforcement, right? Now, DCWP or DEP for that matter, they could probably make the rules you're talking about. So allow me to speak to my colleagues at those two agencies and see what can be done.
Okay.
If anything that they can do internally, because they are the ones that issue the licenses and permits to these vendors, not really us.
Which agency did you say is issuing the permit? You mean DOHWP?
Yes, the health department and DCWP.
Yeah, I thought they're not doing enforcement anymore, though, we were informed.
Yes, they are not, but they still issue, but they are still the ones that set the rules. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of have to work in the rules as it is. So to the extent that I will speak to my colleague at DCWP, I'll try and reach him either tomorrow or next week to come say, oh, by the way, this came up at the meeting. Is there anything that they can do as part of their own rulemaking authority, right? To do something around what
very helpful.
And so
thank you.
That's helpful. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention, Phyllis. Thank you.
My pleasure. And this, by the way, has been brought to the attention to Keith Powers and Alex Boris for 2 years. For 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Good. But these are the agencies. Okay, I saw, he disappeared. Who was next? But okay, I don't see.
Next we have Sean, and then Andrew, and then Robin.
Great. Okay. Go ahead, Sean.
Hi there. Thank you for your time. I really, the big question is that I would really love an answer to is just is there anybody that is a real life person that can be contacted in order to have some kind of enforcement action done? Because I mean, I've got in the last several months, I mean, I've put in probably several dozen complaints on 77th and Lexington, right next to the subway on the southwest corner. It's a food truck that it literally hasn't moved in 8 months. I mean, it's like 24 inches away from a fire hydrant. The thing's got neon lights run. It doesn't leave it, and it runs a generator 24/7. It's I put in 311 complaints, reference the fact that the food vending violation codes and restricted street compliance requirements. Lexington Ave between 74th and 79th is only supposed to be permitted to operate the carts from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But it's there's nothing gets done with it. And
no, you're right, Sean.
If I may,
we share your frustration.
Yeah, if I may just suggest something, sir. So I'm sorry that happened, but I believe the co-chair, Miss Birnbaum, knows how to reach me. So please do me a favor, sir. When those 311 complaints that you've sent in, if you can actually share it with her, she would get it to me. All I need to know is once I get it, I can actually pull the records. Have my team pull the records, and then I'll assign some folks to go take a look at it and see what the problem seems to be. And one, check if the person is in compliance. If they're not in compliance with the rules as is written, then we have some things that we can do at that point in time, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They're not. They're in violation of 7 different requirements that are outlined for for their actions, but none of it it seems to be enough to elicit any kind of action for it. I mean, it's out there now. They're out there. You can see it's like settling into the concrete because the thing doesn't move. They've appropriated a portion of the sidewalk, and then we have on the southeast. My building is actually doing we're doing a repointing work, so we've got scaffolding, but we also have on the southeast corner a double stairwell to the subway, and we have constantly it's like either nut cart or the the cooler vendors that's set up right next, right in between the two stairwells. It's literally 4 feet wide that you can actually walk through there, and they just camp out and set it up. And again, nothing, doesn't matter what complaints submitted through. There's never an action for it, and
Okay.
it's
Now
just
you're talking to
frustrating.
me.
We'll
So
try
you're
to
talking to
remedy
me
that.
right now. So
Sean,
let me work on that if you don't mind. I
let
will
me
take a look
also
at that.
say, Sean, and I'll make this offer to everybody on the call. If you see an infraction, the DOS wants a 311 number. So get the 311 number, but you are welcome to send them to me.
Oh, I've got it. Yeah, I've got from the last couple of months between that and the garbage stuff, I've got probably
Send
120
them
in the
to
last
me,
3
and
months.
I will
So
always forward them. What I
Yeah.
want to say here, though, Mr. Ocachero,
Yes, ma'am.
I know that you don't have enough staff. That is a very, very big thing. We have to budget for enough enforcement officers. Otherwise, you'll have all these infractions. You don't have the ability to enforce it. If the city has just started a quality of life division,
Yes, they
I
have.
hope that this is going to be part of it. Not sure that it will be, but I hope it will. They have to allot resources for it. You can't just make up that you have a division, you have a department, and you've got 2 people for the whole borough or the whole city sometimes. I mean, that's really the key. So you're taking notes here tonight. We are also going to give you the screens that
Please.
Marco has.
Thank you very much. That'll be very
And
helpful.
please have your people up here within the next week or so with a ticket book, prepared to actually issue a summons and confiscate if necessary. No warnings. These are people, as you saw from Marco's presentation, and you look at the Google Maps, they're there for 5 years. They know the rules and regulations. The days for warning, that's sort of gone at this point. I mean,
Of
we
course.
really have to get on it. So, all right, in the interest of time, I'll move on. But thank you, Sean, and make sure
all
I
right,
get
thank
those
you.
numbers.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I'll send them.
Thank you. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thanks, Michelle, and thank you, Sean, for your diligence in reporting all this crap. Um, the frustration is at peak level, and I will do my very, very best not to use any profanities in my comments, but it's very frustrating. There's nobody in control. There is no enforcement. Everybody's kind of looking at each other, and sanitation, if correct me if I'm wrong, took this over in March of 2023. It's been 2
Yes.
years. Everybody's looking at each other. What are you guys doing? You're not doing anything. And the problem is spiraling out of control. The fruit vendor on East 86th Street, the 2 fruit vendors, the white truck and the yellow truck, you can Google Maps this. This goes back to like 2005. I mean, this is
Correct.
insane. I mean, they've literally they put in some parking regulations. They rip down the parking signs so that they're not getting tickets. And for the record, they only get tickets of about $1,000 a year, which is the world's cheapest retail space in one of the most thoroughly traversed areas in the United States of America.
I'm sorry, sir. You said something about that they ripped the
They ripped the signs down that say that there's no standing or there's no parking. It's commercial 3 hours. These guys, and you can look up their license plate numbers. I'm happy to re-report them, as I've been doing for nearly 15 years. They get about $1,000 a year in parking tickets, and they usually negotiate them down. And they have a truck park there literally constantly for years and years and years. And
Is that 86 Street and
Michelle is my
4th
witness. We brought this up. Google
Yes,
Maps.
Mr. Ocachero knows because we did last time.
Yes,
Of
as
course.
because we
well.
did
So
go out there. I know we went
Um,
out there. To be honest with you, we did go based on what you gave me last time. I sent the team out there. I know they did. Maybe they got there too early.
Right, but
and
like
they
one time, like a
dropped.
year and a half ago, doesn't get the job done. It has to be done you know,
That's
Yes,
a
constantly.
big constant.
I know you have limited resources.
of
In the
course, sir.
meantime, the mango vendors in the park, the
I have pictures
hat
of that,
vendors.
Andrew. We're
I
going to show
sent
that, the
Michelle a
pictures that you
million.
took.
It's some like by Heckscher Playground, we have like 4 mango vendors competing against each other. There's so many mango vendors, and then there's a hat vendor and another vendor. They're all illegal. And by the way, the fruit vendors in the park are competing, and they do business. Obviously, apparently, there's a big market for mangoes and cut fruit in the park that we never knew, and we should license a clean and fresh, sanitary fruit vendor or a few
Well,
dozen
let
in the
me
park.
just, we're going to show you the pictures, Andrew,
Yeah.
actually the ones that you took, but let me just interrupt you for one reason when you talk about the park. Yes, it's cut fruit. Yes, it's not permitted. But at one point, and I see Officer Thompson is here as well. So thank you very much for being here from Parks. At one time, and it continues, there is no vending permitted in the park. As a matter of fact, years ago, there was an argument for First Amendment vendors that wanted to go into the park. And the park actually won the argument that they're not permitted because it was not a denying their First Amendment rights, because they can vend anywhere else in the street. They didn't have to be there. This is a new thing, that there is vending of any kind in the park. When you get a license to vend in the park, it's a contract with the city. Some people are paying $250,000 a year to vend in the park. Marco, you want to share your screen? We're blending two topics here, but there's no harm in doing that.
That money goes to the conservancy that helps keep the park clean and serviced and fresh. And I just have to say that, like, 2 years in, it's just totally unacceptable.
Yeah, this is
like, well, we're trying to figure this out.
No.
And then what? We have a new mayor, and they're going to try to figure it out. We need action now. Oh, there we go.
Well, yeah, you're going to see more. Yeah, here's
anyway,
a video that Andrew took.
I might comment later, but yeah, this is like Central Park.
Yeah, this was never, ever,
here we go.
Permitted in the park.
Jill's favorite.
Never.
Tango.
And Andrew was nice enough. He knows that this is a concern of mine, and he's a big walker in the park.
Really clean.
And they're on the benches. This is all illegal. Here, this is
crazy.
And there are more following this video. You'll see some other pictures, which is why we've made it a separate agenda item. Now here, take a look here. In this middle picture, you've got 3 fruit vendors there. Exposed fruit, exposed food. The hat vendor on the lawn. I mean, this never ever happened before. Yeah, the next
seen
slide.
this
Yeah,
fruit
this one.
like on the ground, rolling around, kids playing with the fruit in the woods. I mean,
and there's another interesting thing here, Andrew. Let me jump in because I'm just so mindful of time. There is another thing here. If you look from vendor to vendor, the fruit vendors in particular, you'll see somewhat of a uniformity in their presentation, whether it be similar tables, similar coolers, similar baskets. It gives you the feeling that there's some central distributor here in somebody's house somewhere that is handing this out. You know, it's much like around the holiday time, you know, when you go onto the street and it's New Year's Eve and everybody's got the same sparkly sunglasses and the same hat, you know, you sort of figure they get them from the same place. This cannot stand. Central Park is a landmark. It's a treasure. People pay a lot of money to be licensed to do business there. This is unacceptable. And this is for all, of course, Mr. Wise is on, Officer Wise is on as well. So is he unmuted, by the way? Please, will you unmute him? And also...
so Miss Michelle, just if I may just, if you can hear me, I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah. Miss Michelle, if you guys can hear me.
Yes.
like I said, the issue with the parks, the vending issue with the parks, as you know, the initiative just passed, and it requires us to, of course, have some kind of modalities, the Parks Department, because our responsibility originally was not really in the parks. Even we hardly enforce around the park perimeter. We're not allowed. However, now that
Now you are.
so now we can do some stuff. So I know that's been worked out. I don't have all the details yet, but very soon I'll I'll be reading much more, and then I'll be able to give a much more
Good. And
answer
Officer Thompson
question.
is on. And
Maybe
the
she knows
thing
what I
is,
don't.
this has always been illegal, the park. It may be new for DOS, but it's
Yeah,
not new for the PEP
for parks.
officers, and
Yeah.
it's not
So
new
then,
for others. So I'm sure she's interested in hearing what you have to say in a joint effort, because if that happens, then hopefully it increases the amount of officers that you have available to you.
Yeah, can I
Sure.
add something? So
Absolutely.
I am the inspector for Parks Enforcement Patrol. Um, so we are aware of a lot of these concerns. We have been doing joint operations with NYPD. We have confiscated thousands of items. We have issued multiple summonses, but unfortunately, the problem does constantly come back. And speaking up with DSNY, we had we're working with DSY currently. We have provided these hotspots to them so that way we can jointly be able to tackle some of these problems. So I'm just waiting for my assistant commissioner to get back to me once she hear back from sanitation, because what I last got is that they're going to provide us with dates that they're going to come out to start assisting with some of the issues. But we already documented some of these concerns. We provided it to them. But in the meantime, while we waiting for the additional assistance, that doesn't stop us for addressing it. We have officers in the park regularly. We are constantly addressing it, like I said, and NYPD has jointly have worked with us as well. We have teamed up with the Community Link, and the Community Link is a detail with NYPD, who collectively have other agencies come out to assist. If it's DCWP, um, DSNY, Department of Health. So we have been on top of it. We've been doing it. We will continue addressing it. And that's why I'm here tonight to hear some of the concerns and see if there's anything that we may be missing that we have to tackle down on.
Terrific. So I didn't know that the police department was the precinct police. Are they permitted to enforce in the park, precinct police?
Yeah, the Central Park Precinct, CPP, they have the ability to enforce.
Okay, just
But
Central Park.
because of the park, right, but what they normally do is they'll come and they assist us so that way we can do more with more numbers. So they will provide us the additional support so we can address a lot of the concerns out there.
That's
But they can issue summonses. They help us seize and transport back to their precincts, because where we voucher property at would be at their precinct.
Is the DOH WP also permitted to go into the park? We were advised they weren't, but
No,
so much of this is a DOH issue.
Right. No, they don't go inside the park. They'll
Okay,
go on the perimeter of the park.
okay, okay. Well, you see, Andrew, I think this was around the 85th, 86th Street area in particular, but it doesn't really matter. Almost any entrance you go into, this is
It's
what you see.
everywhere. It's
So if you,
some of
yeah,
some of that is down by 79th Street underneath the or going towards the Great Lawn. They're up at every juncture by the Oak Bridge, by the other bridge, the Bow Bridge. They are up by the Weather Observatory, the castle. They're everywhere. And frankly, I just have to say, I walk on average probably 3 miles every day in Central Park. I see dozens of these. Got a little quieter during the winter. They're popping up again. Just Poets Walk, for instance, has easily a dozen vendors just putting their things out on blankets. Hat vendors are very popular right now. And I've seen in the course of the last year, or 15 months, I've seen one enforcement effort by parks between Bethesda Fountain and Bow Bridge, and it was removing one vendor, asking one vendor to leave, and I asked what was happening, and they said they couldn't confiscate anything, that the vendor was a minor, so they let him go. There's virtually no enforcement. So to say that they're looking at it, I mean, this just has happened for way too long. It's
Let
getting
me-
worse and worse.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks, Andrew. I think
Let me just
Thank
add, I'm sorry that you say that, but
This is
we,
not a situation
no, no,
where
no,
I'm denying
I get what
reality.
you're saying. Yeah,
You
I
know?
get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
as you mentioned, which is, I was gonna ask that question, because as the weather had changed and it got colder, we wasn't seeing a lot of them out there like that. So that's what I wanted to know. But we know that they starting to gear up, they starting to do it again,
Yeah.
and we're gonna continue going out there. We are going to do some details to address it. So I'm surprised you haven't seen the units out there in the past. We even bring in our, we have PD bring in rag trucks so we can sit and dispose, take things and have them transported to the precinct.
that's
Or
what I
we
was
do
going
it
to
for
ask you,
compost.
Inspector. That's what I
Yeah.
was going to ask you. What is the punishment? That's what I was
Well,
going to ask you.
right. So they will receive a summons. Summons either for not having a license to vend. 9 times out of 10, if it's fruits and stuff, they don't get that back. We take it and we work with sanitation to take it to a compost site. So that's what we do
But
far as with
what's a fine?
food and fruits.
What's a fine? What costs their pocketbook? The confiscation, of course, does. But what's a fine? Like the fruit, like look at the middle picture on the lower right. There's a cart filled with fruit. What is the fine for that person?
Can you just give me a minute and let me pull that fine amount? I don't want to give you the wrong information.
The point I'm making is that unless the sweeps are repeated, almost, I know you don't have the manpower for on a daily basis, but unless it happens repeatedly, it's a once in a lifetime issue. It's worth it for them. I mean, the fine is what, about $125 or, maybe $250. But if nobody sees them again for the rest of the year or even for 6 months, that's pretty cheap rent. So
No,
that's the concern.
Yeah.
yeah, no, and I get your concern and I do agree with you, but we don't just do it one time. When the weather gets warm, they start ramping up. We do a couple of details. And like I said, we will, like now, since DSNY is able to come and assist in the park, we're going to be working with them. So it'd be more in numbers to assist to address. So we're looking to do it as much as possible, as much as our resources allow to be able to address these issues.
But also,
And taking their items also does hurt them a lot if we constantly keep taking their property.
What
yeah,
can we do to help you? Like, how many more resources do you need?
Well, we can, when I say as resources allow, like, because during the summer, we have our pools, our beaches, so we have other things that tend to come up, but it won't stop us from addressing the concerns. We still address them. And like I said, we work with our other partners to help assist.
Does it
and
make
do
sense
you
to
know
call
whether or
like
not,
311s
hold,
or
hold
like,
on, hold on,
sorry.
Andrew. Yes, call 311 and send me
Yes.
the numbers.
Call 311,
And send
definitely.
me the numbers, because then I will send them to both Inspector Thompson and Mr. Okaturo. Tell
Michelle,
me, do you know whether or not you're going to be part of the Quality of Life Commission? Has anybody informed you? Do you have any information on that? They just formed a new Quality of Life Commission, New York,
Yeah,
that's launching
the
it.
mayor, Yeah, the mayor just announced it, I think last week sometime.
Yes.
For now, I'm not so sure the different agencies, but I think they were kind of focusing on a particular area, a place called the Hub. That seems to be where they kind of want to start this from, if I recall correctly. So I know DSNY is doing some stuff in that neighborhood. So I suspect we're going to be part of it, one way or the other. But I'll get some clarity very soon in terms of that, because I wasn't really privy to that conversation. But I'm sure in a week or so I'll have a better understanding of it, and I can always report back whenever I come back to maybe to you guys.
Okay,
I'm
that'd
sorry,
be great.
guys.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they started a focus in Central Park, so they doing what they call every park counts.
Counts.
Central
Well-
Park has been one of the parks identified where the mayor's office is combining the resources to address the concerns in the park.
Well, that's very good.
Michelle,
Yes,
can I
I'm
ask a
sorry,
question?
Marco, go ahead.
Inspector, in this case that you see in the picture, how do you think it has to be reported? Because the Central Park is so huge. So are there any guidance to file the complaint? Because right now I'm seeing myself, I walk over there, but I'm unable to pinpoint the location, because that will be very helpful for you to enforce. What is
Right.
your
If
recommendation?
you could give us the nearest monument in the park, because basically once you tell us, say it's by Podesta Fountain or it's by the stage area, the literary walk, Wade Walk, if you can give us some sort of, or if you can just give us street coordinates, and we'll go off the street coordinates to identify, is it closer to the west? Is it closer to the east? Is it near 72nd Street or is it near 86th Street? Give us as much as you can give, and that's what we would narrow in on.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Sounds
You're
good.
So,
Go ahead, Robin.
so Ms. Brabham, because I may have to, I may have to jump off soon, but before
Yes,
I
that's
do,
why I wanted you to
yeah,
hear Robin,
yeah.
because
Yeah,
she's the
Robin, you need
lady
to
about the
confirm
taco
unmuting on
truck.
your device.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I'll listen.
I've had this issue for 9 years now, where this taco cart is in one place. And the last time I was here, you spoke. And since then, when I passed by the taco truck, which has still been there every single night for 9 years, maybe switching carts overnight, now they have an A rating. Now, I would love to know who gave them an A rating, in spite of the fact that they never leave the spot. The
Okay.
other issue, and one of the reasons why they need to go away at night, is because it provides light in a corner on 69th Street where kids hang out. So at 11:30 one night, they're hanging out by the taco truck that provides light in a corner that has a seating area, and they were playing music. And the light provided by that stupid truck gives them an entertainment space. So all these things have an other effect. But I would really love to know how they got an A rating after I complained to you at the last meeting. And I was promised I give the same address, I give the same stupid truck. They say, we're going to go see them, never moves. I watch them fill up the cart from a car that comes filled with things that bring the food into the cart. Never goes to any commissary, and they have an A rating. So something is, this is the way the whole city seems to be these
Can
days.
you look
Nothing
into
gets
that?
enforced.
Can you
Let
look
me-
into that specifically, Mr.
let me-
Gutierrez? You're aware of this cart, but who gave them that rating?
Okay. I'm aware of
Assuming it's it's a decal, a decal.
Yeah,
Assuming
well,
it's
a
not
big
a
restaurant
counterfeit.
decal.
Well, assuming it's not counterfeit.
Yeah, that's assuming it's not. But let me just share with you, Ms. Robin, that when we spoke last, because I have some of the data here as I'm talking to you right now, I know the team went out there. Just to be 100% clear with you, they did go out, they did engage for several days, right? The challenge, and I think you just touched upon it. The health department, usually because it's food, whatnot, they are the ones that will do the ratings, whether it's A or B or C. It's not really, something that we do. But of course, we can always check when we go there to ensure that one, what they have is not counterfeit, that is not fake, because there are folks out there, to be quite blunt, who have some fake stuff, and we've taken their stuff as well. This particular person here, I had the team actually, I don't want to use the term stakeout. I've had the team actually pay particular attention based on the last time that I spoke with you. And I know they went out there at least several times, right? The
Well,
challenge,
then
like I
they're
said,
not doing the job.
but hold on, Miss Robin. This is the point. I hear what you're saying, and I'm not going to say, but they are doing their job in terms of ensuring that one, this vendor is permitted. If it's permitted and licensed properly, it's a different thing that, okay, his light is on, which I don't think his light, for me personally, I don't think it should be on, but he has all this stuff he's doing there. As long as it's meeting all those compliance that is required by the rules, right? Now, the commissary issue that you raised, I will make sure that tomorrow, I'm saying this to you right now, I will have the Manhattan team go out there tomorrow specifically. I want to see his commissary record because we're allowed to do that as well. Right?
Okay.
Okay, so I can
I'd
ask
love
that.
to know that that's not made up either, because I have seen
exactly.
them
So
never
please-
leave.
Okay, but again, like I said, I will ask the question of the team when they go out there tomorrow. I say, please go to this area. I want you to check for me, right? Do they actually have, because they are required by law to have that, right? That they must go to commissary every day, right? And if he's not doing so, then there's an issue. Then there's a big problem that we have to then interrogate and deal with. So allow me to do that. At least I'll do that tomorrow or Saturday, either of those 2 days, because we work on Saturdays as well. I will have them pay some attention to that particular location. Okay, and then I'll report back either by phone call to Ms. Michelle or whoever to let you know what it is that we found.
Yes,
is
you have my
like
email. You can email
do.
me and we can
I do.
do that. You
I'm
have
really
the
sorry.
exact
Yeah.
location.
Yeah, I do. It's 69th Street, Southwest and 2nd Avenue. I know we
Yep.
went there. It's by the train station, right? That's the Q train station. I know we've been to that area before.
You've been there, right?
Yeah. 72nd
Clearly, they have not gotten any message that makes them afraid.
Well-
Nothing. Nothing that makes them feel they have to change what they're doing.
Well, let me work on some stuff this weekend and then we see what happens, okay?
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Sean.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a kind of a follow-up on just the comment that you just made, Kubemi, about
Yes, sir.
you guys did a stakeout or whatever. That's not necessary at all. I mean, they're blatantly operating in violation of any applicable regulations that are supposed to govern them. And anytime that is reported, there's nothing done. So I mean, it's like, you don't have to do a stakeout. You can walk over right now and take a picture right now of violation. So
Well, he's going to bring staff of a team up there, so that has to be done.
no, yeah, no, I hear you. I'm just
They
saying
have
that
to-
it's
they
like
have
it
to-
seems it
One
just
moment, they
makes
have
people
to
feel
have- I know they have to have the right ticket books with them. It
We
has
have to have,
they have a
this got
procedure.
to be, I'm really sorry, Sean, and to all of you, I have to kind of say this as well, that these things happen. Unfortunately, you guys live in the neighborhood, and I understand it's your neighborhood, and I'm not going to make light of the challenges that some of this may pose. And actually, it's posing, not may pose, it's posing. Like Ms. Michelle said earlier, we work within a very, very tight bandwidth of of staff. So from that point of view, it's a big city. While we focus on areas of problems like this, for instance, I know I spend time and resources in this area. I'll continue to do so with the team. There's a whole team that actually focuses on Manhattan right now as we speak. So that's why I said, allow me tomorrow, Saturday, I will try and see if I can get the team. Actually, I will move them over there to just spend some time. Because at the end of the day, Sean, you see, they kind of have that the truck is parked in a parking zone, right?
No, it's parked. No, I'm talking. The main one is that it's a cart that's on the sidewalk, right? It's like 8 feet away from a subway entrance. It's next to the hospital. It is there. It never moves ever. It never moves, and then they run their generator 24/7, and it's got the neon flashing lights. That I mean, it is just it. They have appropriated public property to keep their to have their halal card there, and they don't have even have their permit publicly displayed. Like I went down to try to actually put the permit number on with
They should have.
things. Yeah, no.
Have it.
So
They should have played. That's the rule. Okay.
I understand that, but
Also-
that's my point, is that there isn't, it doesn't matter what the rules are apparently, because there's no enforcement of it. So you can make 100 extra rules and they're just not going to comply with them either, and there's still no
Yeah.
repercussions for it. That's the
Sean,
thing.
I and others have been working on this issue. I feel your frustration because I'm working on this since the 80s. Okay.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
hasn't improved, it's gotten worse. But one thing I think that maybe the public, we can do, and that is bombard our elected officials, asking
Thank you.
them to ask for more money in the budget for enforcement officers. I mean,
I
if
would-
I ask you now, how many DSNY officers inspect vendor conditions in Manhattan? Do you know?
in the entire city of New York, I believe Ed County maybe 40 in the entire city. So therefore, I have a
40.
team
So of course that's your
around
answer.
40, 45 or thereabouts. So for the entire city of New York,
Yeah.
that's kind of
So
number.
well,
even
that's your
still-
offer
yeah.
because we could keep
So we-
40
yeah.
busy on the Upper East Side, and the same for the PEP officers, Inspector. How many PEP offices are there that handle the parks? And it's not just Central Park, it's all the parks, right? Do you know how many you have? Will, can you unmute the inspector?
Yes, you can unmute on your device.
Just is it yet?
Actually, can I follow on that? Just how many violations are actually issued every day? I mean, regardless of our neighborhood, I'm just saying
Okay.
Well,
So let me give you some.
the only
Let
problem,
me give you some
Sean,
numbers.
is you
Let me give
have
you
to
some
know
numbers.
you have to know the number of infractions. I mean, you'll always get a number of tickets that are given out. That's easy. They keep track of that. But it's
Yeah.
meaningless without knowing the number of infractions. If they tell you they did 100, but it's 100 out of 2,000 infractions, it's nothing. If it's 100 out of 150, it's terrific. So that number alone doesn't tell us very much. But clearly, we need more offices. 40 is just ridiculous in all 5 boroughs. And there are hubs like this everywhere. Fordham Road in the Bronx, Lower
Yeah.
Broadway, areas of Brooklyn, Sunnyside in Queens. They're
Flushing.
overrun.
So let me. I like what you said. I won't. I think it makes sense, and I do appreciate hearing from all of you. I will definitely relay what I'm hearing. I think at my level, there's a lot of stuff that I can do, which I'm going to do regardless. But at the same time, what you just said now is one that I think if our friend and our council member Powers and others decide that they want something, additional, that's
Well,
something that
money. We have to get
and I
you
think
more
the budget
money.
season right now. We are now about to start the whole budget what review. I'm on the other side of the house, so I really have to be careful how I say that. But I think, the community can definitely advocate and encourage, their members to
Yeah.
so they can do.
I think we'll have to do that. Is the
Right.
inspector still on? Because I wondered.
I am. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I can. I just wondered, do you have any idea how many PEP offices there are for the city or for Manhattan or?
Well, I don't have the total numbers in front of me. I can tell you, like in Central Park, since your concern is Central Park, we have like 10 to 12 officers for Central Park, but they don't cover just Central Park. They cover from 59th to 125th Street. They're going from the East River to the West Side.
Yeah, so 10 people. It's obvious why there can't be the kind of, no matter how hard those 10 people worked, they wouldn't be able to really keep abreast of the infractions that are being committed. So that's something that we as a community can do. And also we can approach our board chair to write a letter to this effect to the powers that be to try to get it into the budget, try to get it into a significant part of the Quality of Life Commission. But at the same time, we have to work at this moment, we have to work with what we have. And what we have is what we have. So even though you're working hard and your people are working hard, it's sad because it's frustrating for you as well. You take somebody in, you confiscate, you give them a ticket, you go back the next day, and there they are. So you too are spinning your wheels. But we have to get a hold of it because it represents a decline. It represents a decline in the city. And it's less safe. From a health point of view, it's very unsafe. So we certainly have to do that. Sean, is your hand up because you still have comments or you didn't take it down?
Oh, no,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's all right.
All right. Is there anything else specific? And the other thing, Mr. Okatiro, before you go, and also in the park as well, Inspector, is to get on the coolers, the people who are bringing fully cooked meals from a location that you don't know where. You know, they're bringing it from their home. You don't know how it's transported. You don't know anything about it. Nobody can inspect it. It's there for, they know when their customers are there. We're not denying there are customers. If there were no customers, this wouldn't be a business and there'd be no problem. There are customers. We understand that. But there are people who buy into a lot of things. That doesn't make it legal in this city. You still have to stay on top of it. We still have to observe the laws. These little infractions lead to big infractions, as you well know. And a lot of this are not individual vendors. Oftentimes, an individual vendor is exploited by a distributor. An individual vendor may not even hold the license or may only have a vending license, but may not have a cart permit. That vendor doesn't get a bathroom break, doesn't get a sanitary break, doesn't get a vacation, doesn't get anything, and is often exploited by the much larger distributor cartel. And we know that they exist. We did a study on it years ago. Very hard to get your hands on them. But we know when you see the uniformity of some of the street furniture and some of the packaging, you know that it's likely coming from one place. Not every time, but a significant percentage of the time. And maybe the task force should branch out a little bit to try to get to the root of whether or not there are, actual distributors. I think that because if you look at an inventory truck that provides the produce for a street table, a fruit table, you look at the door of that truck, you'll also see, you will often see a business name. And that person is a distributor that likely distributes fruit to all different locations. But it's not that truck is not refrigerated. If that fruit was in a supermarket, it has to maintain a certain temperature to be in a supermarket. And a board of health comes around and gives tickets if it isn't. If it's on the street and it's 90 degrees one day, the fruit's 90 degrees. If it's 20 degrees one day, the fruit's 20 degrees. Nobody's maintaining temperature. Nobody's requiring it. Nobody's ticketing it. So, but we need help from within the agencies to sort of get rules implemented from your individual agencies to get some of this taken care of. Monica, let's hear from you. Monica is a public member of our committee. Go ahead, Monica.
Yeah, so I, agree with all the other speakers. It's just, I don't see enforcement of anything just beyond this vendor thing. I mean, we've got homeless people camped out outside of our building and calling for 2 years, nothing's being done. I mean, it's across the board, but that's beside the point. So what I was wondering about, Michelle, you might know, I mean, all these agencies are here working on the vendors. What about tax collection? Kind of the Al Capone approach. Are they collecting taxes? Do they have a certificate that they can, or something to prove that they are paying taxes on the goods they're selling? Because Sounds like there are hundreds of
The
people
legal
doing
ones,
this around the city.
to answer you, Monica, the legal vendors do have a tax number. They are supposed to be paying taxes. There was a very big study, and I have the article somewhere buried in my computer, about trying to collect those taxes and what the deficits was. It's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in any given small time period. You're quite right. And that's the legal vendors. But you have illegal vendors, they don't have a tax numbers, and the last thing they're doing on the face of the earth is voluntarily filing quarterly tax returns. So you're quite right. And what agency in the city would look into that? That would be the Department of Finance, the city
Yes.
Department of Finance.
Yes, ma'am.
If the two of you ask the Department of Finance on behalf of your agencies, could they please do that? That would help you with enforcement, because that's an excellent point, Monica, because if they felt they were somebody's coming after them for not paying taxes, that's a state offense and actually a federal offense. I don't know what the penalty is, but certainly that would be discouraging. Is that something you think you could do within your agencies? Encourage them to get the Department of Finance involved?
I can try and talk to my colleagues over there and see what they have.
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I said I will try and connect with my colleague and see if there's anything that they are doing at their end. But I do believe DCWP may have some answers. So let me do some more research into this and to
Yeah,
really
make a note. I think that's an important point. And Inspector, how about you? Is that something you can have people to approach?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do same way as was just said. I have to do some research on my end.
Okay. Now I know Officer Wise is on the call. Is he unmuted?
You will have to excuse me, Miss Michelle. So sorry, but is it possible for these slides to be sent to me, please, so I can have?
We will email it to you right after the meeting.
I am so
Thank you
sorry,
very
but
much
I have
for
to jump
coming.
off.
I know
I'm sorry,
we've
everybody.
extended your time far more than you had expected. I
Again,
apologize, but we're very grateful for you being here. Thank you.
Thank you
No, I'm
so
really
much
sorry.
for coming.
I'm really sorry that I know this is a pain for everybody, and please understand that I can say I can appreciate it, but I don't live next door to you, right? But I can clearly understand where you are coming from. I have no issues with the passion and the frustration that I'm hearing. It helps me then to ensure that the team knows where to focus on time and energy. And whatever information I have, I will share with you so that you understand what it is that we've done. Like I said, we've been to the areas. I have the data, but I'm going to have them do more stuff as we're moving forward. So that's my commitment to you. Please hold me to that. Again,
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. We will.
Thank you so
We'll
much.
be in touch after the meeting. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Is Officer Wise on? I can't with the slides up. I
Officer,
can't see everybody.
Officer Wise is no longer on.
Oh, okay.
I am his supervisor. I'm the representative for the agency.
Okay, terrific. All right. So is that something that you can do as well? Sort of look into the finance part of it?
Yeah, that's what I had mentioned. I said I will do research to see how could that apply if it could. But I have to do research. So I don't want to speak on something that I really don't know how that works. But I will do the research.
Thank you. Something that is coming up is our third agenda item, which you may or may not be interested in staying around for. I'll call on two other members from the public, but let me just finish this thought. There's a new intro, 1164, being
Michelle,
proposed.
we have Elaine.
Yes, I know. That's why I said as soon as I'll get into it when I finish calling on the public, and Elaine will be next because Sean has spoken. I'm sure he won't mind that. But the reason I'm raising the point and hoping you stay around is because this is one of the only hope that we have. And it's proposing a central portal where the vendor information on individual vendors, their location, the infraction, the tickets paid and all that goes into one central database, one portal, so that it is available for everyone to see and follow. So that is the very least and should be done for sure. What I wanted to ask you about is probably about 4 years ago, and now when a cart goes in for a permit renewal, they automatically get a chip put on that cart. The purpose of that is to provide the ability to track the cart if it goes to a commissary, and also to hook it into such a portal. We have been told for about 3 years, having to get that chip every time you get a renewal has been in effect for a while, but we have been told that the software hasn't been written, which would allow that to be put into use as a network. Do you know anything about that?
Unfortunately, I do not. This is the
Okay.
first I'm hearing about chip. And who's supposed to be implementing that?
Well, originally, it came when the Department of Health and Worker Protection were the lead enforcing agency. That has now changed. Now it's the DCNY, SNY, and you in the park. The lead agency for enforcement has been changing. And even the agency that issues the licenses have changed. It used to be for general merchandise, it was the Department of Consumer Affairs. That may or may not still be true. And now you're saying that the DOH is issuing the licenses. We were told they weren't doing enforcing, but they are helping with enforcement. So we've gotten
That would have been DS and the representative from DSNY. That's not something I said.
About what? You mean about worker protection? About the DOH?
Right.
No, the DOH told us, Mr. Middleton.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, the DOH told us that. We had a contact who always came to our meetings, Jim Middleton, because they were the lead agency for enforcement. And then they told me they were no longer, that it was sanitation. And now I'm hearing that even though it's sanitation, the DOH is permitted to do enforcement. So we've got a lot of different information. I'm happy if it's all of you, because that increases the manpower and you can support each other and it makes more sense. But that's not what I'm hearing. So hopefully we can get some clarity on that.
Yeah, but DSNY is ultimately who deals with the street enforcement. Department of Health assists when it comes to permits.
Right.
And they can better explain what their role is. But DSNY ultimately been turned over to DSNY to do enforcement.
Right. Because DOH WP used to enforce. He used to come to our meetings and we would send our 311s to him. But that's no longer the case. So anyway, that having been said, let me bring Elaine Walsh in here. Thanks for being here, Elaine.
Thank you, Michelle and Marco. I'm Elaine Walsh. I'm president of the East 86th Street Association. And I'd say for at least the last 15 years, we have been dealing with the same problem with the vendors, with the unsightly streets because of the vendors, the crowding, etc. I'm glad to hear you have all these reps here, but we've heard it before. I believe the only way you are going to get this enforced is to bring out the police, sanitation, health, and you're going to confiscate and take away all of the tables, and you're going to take all the food trucks that are illegally parked and are vending off a meter. That is illegal. Nobody is enforcing it. We have called this into 311 I have white hair. I don't know what color it can go to next. So I'm asking for all the city agencies to pull together and report back to our committee as to what the steps are that you are going to remove whether it's the green truck, the taco truck. When the summer comes, we get the popcorn people, the et cetera, you all know. And if you don't know what's invading our community, Michelle will gladly resend everything she has constantly said. Our community is very upset about this. And our complaint is, we are the highest paid tax area in the city, and we get the least amount of service. And we have recently been told by a city agency that we don't qualify for any extra help because we're too wealthy. We need the city to understand we are not one community. We're many neighborhoods, and we are all not wealthy. We have a high rate of tenements and range of income. West of Park Avenue is one type of community, and east is another. And we are being ignored. I came on tonight, not that I wanted to, because I've been on before, but we have plenty of photos. I have to say, sanitation did come out one day and help give tickets, and then the police did come and take one van table, it was a metal one, a large one, away, but it was back in 24 hours.
Well, that's the thing.
We can't, yes, Michelle, let me just finish. We cannot have this. Either you enforce it, or what are the choices? Tell me what you want the city to look like when you don't enforce. I'm looking at the photos. I can send you zillions of them also. Thank you very much. And I hope all of you are the city agencies do something. And if you need our help, ask, even off the record, if you're afraid to go to your bosses or to the mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. In response to that, one thing that we are going to do, you weren't on the call when we heard that there are 40 inspectors for the DSNY for the entire city of New York. They don't have the resources. That's something we can advocate for. I advocated for it in the past in our community district needs statement, but I think we need to go directly to our officials. Maybe we can talk to Valerie about this and have her write a letter. We'll talk about it as a committee and see how we want to go forward. So, okay, with that, Sean, is this a new short comment? Because I'm going to go to our agenda item 3, which I would like.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty short. It's really just everybody just expresses everybody has the same sentiment that it's the frustration's just kind of built to the boiling point, because the people that are operating these temporary parts and trucks and all, and they're using it just to capitalize on the area, but it's they don't live here, and so they don't care about any kind of detrimental effects it has. So and it's just inherently wrong that people that are exploiting a neighborhood for capital gain have more say than the people that actually live in the neighborhood. And it's also kind of a really kind of a point of frustration as well, with the fact that it's always said to everything's references, just make a report, file a report with 311, file a report. But I mean, I've got multiple issues that have gone back 20 some, almost 30 years. I had a 311 operator mention something to me a couple of years back. Oh wow, I see that you made this. This was a separate one. This is like a a garbage thing, but he's like, I see you made the first complaint on here back in 1999. I was like, oh wow, it's still not done.
Yeah, look,
so it's like,
I'm working on this since the 80s, so I know, but I think a tremendous part of it is nobody is budgeting for it. It's foolish. 40 officers.
But there's no, but that's part of it. But also, there just has to be action done. I mean, I can walk through 30 blocks in a day if that was my job. So, that's What,
Okay.
that's 1,200 a day if you have 40 people running 20 blocks in a day. So if they had the ability to just issue a violation, then there's revenue for the city and it should be addressing an issue, but it just seems like,
We take your point.
yeah,
We get
nothing's
it.
done. That's all.
Let me
yeah.
bring Aura in. Thank you, Sean. Thanks for being here and thanks for your comments. Go ahead, Aura.
Or you should look at the bottom of your device and see if there's a button that says confirm unmuting.
If you're having technical difficulty, Aura, can you text Will just to let him know that you're hearing us in the chat?
Yeah, I'll let you know if she says anything, but she
Okay.
has the option to unmute whenever she's ready. You want
Do
to
you-
move on?
Okay. All right. Well, if we're, Aura, when
Got
you
it. Okay.
You got it? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Really quick comment. Two particular locations, the southeast corner of 3rd and 86th and the northwest corner of 86th and 2nd, as we all know, has become a permanent location for food vendors, those trucks, the Birria truck and the Greek truck, or whatever these things are. They are there every day, all day, blocking a fire hydrant. And because they're on a busy corner of an intersection of a corner, drivers trying to make a right turn cannot do that. They're also blocking buses. And at one point, sanitation police, we did not know that there was a thing called sanitation police, but they actually arrived. They took the truck away and, happiness reigned in the valley. And of course, few days later, they were back and they are back. They also, because of where they're blocking the crosswalk oftentimes. And on top of which, the only way to get to them, because of the way they position themselves, is to walk through the tree pit. You can imagine what the tree pits look like. So my question is, I don't drive, but it's blocking vehicles from turning right. It's blocking buses. It's blocking the crosswalk and creating damage to the tree pit. This is on both of these corners, and it's a daily occurrence.
Have you called this into 311? I only say that. I know that's always so frustrating.
We have.
But the reason is I say that is if you get a number, forward it to me.
Okay.
And then I can send it directly to Mr. Occhero.
Because what's happening is it gets closed out within 24 hours. Nothing gets done, but it gets closed out.
No, it shouldn't it doesn't get closed out unless there's been a visit. It may be a misinterpretation by the officer that visited it, and he feels or she feels that she had a success and they close it out. But there should be no closeout unless somebody went to inspect. So send that to me.
Okay. Thank you.
Get me numbers and feel free to get me as many numbers as you want, as many pictures. You have my email.
Yes.
As many pictures as you want, send them to me. I will send them to the proper agency.
Thank you.
So please do that. All right, I'm going to move along since everybody. Phyllis, have you spoken? Go ahead, Phyllis,
Very
and then
fast.
we have to move on to agenda
Okay.
item 3.
I have issued a 311, stood on the corner, seen no enforcement, and then gotten a closeout. I complained.
Okay, well, that will
I
be.
complained to our assemblyman, and he said, his staff said, oh, 311 has electronic problems.
Oh, well, I certainly can't speak to that.
But I can tell you, I stood right there and waited, and nobody came. And then it said police, this was visited and whatever the language is. And I stood
Okay.
right there and waited.
All right, but some of us, we like to bang our heads against the wall, so please don't give up. If we
I
give
just
up,
thought you should know
then
that,
what?
right? Thought you should know that.
Right, we know that. All right, let's move along. Marco, can you share the screen and put the resolution up? We're going to go to a third item, is intro number 1164. let's see, I'll get down to where the intro is. And this is something that should have been done. I
Michelle.
can't think how long ago.
Michelle,
Yes.
I'm going to step down as a co-chair.
Well, you don't have to yet, Marco.
Yes,
until,
at the
until
beginning
the
of the
resolution.
at the beginning of the topic. I have
Oh,
to
you
do
have
it.
to? Okay, then I'll take over. Just work the screen for me, please. Let me tell everybody why Marco is saying that, and Will too. Well, Marco feels that in accordance with Robert's rules, that a co-chair should not participate in a presentation or in making the resolution. So he prepared this. I'll describe it. It's not all that complicated. And the only other board member, I believe, that's on this call is Monica. I'm going to ask for a resolution, and in the hope that since Marco, he stepped away so he can make the resolution, but maybe Monica will do it. But we're not quite up to the resolution yet. Let's talk about what we're dealing with. So this is introduced by the council members. You see them up there, and it is long overdue. And what it basically says is, and I'll read, you can see the yellow, outline yellow, there shall be an office of street vendor enforcement, which shall consist of enforcement agents who are specially trained in local laws and rules related to vending on the streets and sidewalks of the city of New York. That is very important, because what happens when you have a regular police officer or precinct officer go out, they don't even know what the violations are. They don't know the laws. And there's also a special ticket book. And if they're not carrying that ticket book and they don't know the laws, they're not writing any offenses. The Office of Street Vendor Enforcement shall be fully operational on or before September 1st, 21, which shows you how swiftly the wheels of government turn, and shall commence enforcement activities on or before such date. Such enforcement activities shall, at a minimum, include a sufficient number of street patrols to inspect or examine the vending activities of at least 75% of applicable permittees or licensees on an annual basis. For the purposes of this section, the term applicable permittees or licensees means persons issued full-term or temporary permits pursuant to section 17307 of the administrative codes. Page 2. This office will be in the executive office of the mayor, and the office will have the power and the duty to do the enforcing focus and collaborative effort as outlined. So if you read this quickly, receive all complaints relating to vending using 311, engage in other activities related to enforcement of the law, create an integratory portal, which is what this is about, to share enforcement history and data, include a database of all agency street vending enforcement action by location and vendor license number, allow any agency enforcing street vending laws to input notes, where applicable, display the previous enforcing violations, and also include a mechanism for enforcing the vending law and to verify the authenticity of the license. To me, this is a no-brainer. It should have been in effect long time ago. It was obviously meant to be in 2021. We have an opportunity to do it now. If there's any discussion on this issue, please raise your hand and let's discuss now. Okay, go ahead, Marco.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. I would like to put a motion. The motion is to support this application. As is anybody can second this motion.
Are you proposing as presented?
Yes.
Okay, Monica, are you seconding?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I think you described very well everything, but I had to give the credit to these city council members, Honorable Ariola, Honorable Lewis, Honorable Swan, Honorable Banks, Honorable Narcissist, Honorable Palladino, and Honorable Marmorato. I think these these city councils, they doing the right thing, and we need to strongly support, even though that conspicuously we don't see our reps in this intro. I think. Thank you.
Okay, good. Elaine, you have a comment?
I think Marco just said it for me.
Okay,
Why
terrific.
are Representatives Julie Menon and Keith Powers not on sponsoring this legislation? And we need to hold them accountable.
We can hold them accountable because we're looking at it. They are people I've spoken to. I've talked to
Michelle,
Now, I want to just point this out. Keith Powers started his career as an assistant to Council Member Gorodnik 18 years ago, almost 20 years ago. I've met with him on that issue starting from that date. Let's get this passed. I want these council members to get credit.
Yes.
We'll have the resolution go to the whole council and to the borough president and to the mayor, because this is in the mayor's office as well. So now we have a resolution on the floor. No further discussion. It's been seconded. I'd like to, well, Monica, you want to call the question?
Yes, please call the question.
Second. And let's have a vote. There's only 3 of us on here. All in favor, just raise your hand. I'm not missing any others, am I?
No, you're not missing anyone. And I would just say the opposite. Say if you're voting no or abstaining.
Oh, okay.
That's usually a Zoom protocol.
Okay, so Monica, yeah, your head will go down. All right, that's fine. Okay, so I guess that has passed. And I'll send you the slides in addition to the marked up resolution. You'll find that helpful to put in packet for the full board. It might be easier for people to read.
Yeah, of course. Send it so we can post it online as well.
Yeah, I will. All right. Is there any old business?
Michelle, we had a couple of questions in the chat of what email address they should send their 311 complaint numbers to.
Should I just put it in the chat, or I can say it here?
You can say it, and then because the YouTube will never hear it, or you would never see the chat.
Would never see it. Okay. M as in Mary, B as in boy, F as in Frank, A as in Apple, NY as in New York, at NYC as in New York City, .RR as in Robert.com. You can feel free to send me contact information, but send me 311 numbers and any visuals that you might have. I don't need the visuals, but I need exact locations. They should be in 311. Mr. Okechero, yes, Marco.
Do we have the email for the inspector, Cynthia Thompson?
Yes, but I'm not going to give you, I'm going to give that to you when we get off the call. That's not for publication. So as soon as we adjourn, I will forward that to you and you can send it. Any other questions? New business, old business? Sean, your hand up? Or did you just?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to jump on you or anything here. It's just in reference to the last comment you made, though. It's that's I don't understand why there's this, like, every city agency has got a stranglehold on information. So, like, I mean, just there, that the DSNY representative that was on, I mean, like, that's not for public consumption to have a public representative's email. Like, there's nobody
me to give it to you.
No, I'm just saying in general. It's like there's nothing is simplified, and there's no easy avenue to contact people, and everything. I'm just saying in general, everything is made to make it super difficult.
Let me offer this to you. Go on the DSNY website. You have his name. Would you like me to spell it? You should be able to find his information there. I don't feel that it's within my purview to hand out his email information. I just, that's not to say you can't reach him. So you go ahead on there and hopefully you'll be successful. Again, if you have any report, send it to me. I'll get it to him. Okay. Motion to adjourn, anybody?
Second.
Okay. Thanks for everybody who joined. This is a very, very difficult issue. A big part of it is that there's a lack of manpower. The question is, of course, why is there a lack of manpower? And it's also a question of how serious everybody takes it. I can also tell you that the vendor community, while it is underserved in many ways, it is a very, very, very strong lobby. And it's a very sympathetic group as well. But that's not to say that they shouldn't be held accountable and be respectful of the quality of life of our communities. Inspector, thank you very, very much for coming. I appreciate it. Hope we can hear from you again in the future as time permits. Will, thanks very much